going on, folks? I'm Renegade. Today, let's talk oxygen sensors. For those of you who do not know, the oxygen sensor, or the lambda sound, is an integral part of your computer system in your car. It is actually what measures the air and fuel left in your exhaust to modify and taper your fuel consumption. Part of the emission systems, it helps you have a nice even fuel to air ratio. It helps with your emissions, what you're putting out into the atmosphere from your exhaust pipe, but it also helps you with your actual fuel, you know, in terms of your car's performance. Well, my oxygen sensor's gone bad, so I need to replace it, but it's a little more complicated than that. See, in this car, let me pop the hood. You see, in this car, the oxygen sensor used to be mounted right here. I guess it was right here, somewhere along here. The problem is, this is a different manifold. The reason it's a different manifold, well, the old one had some issues. Namely, the bolts that were on it for the downpipe were just stuck, and the downpipe had a big hole in it and needed to be replaced, and this was just easier. So I actually have a spot for an oxygen sensor in my catalytic converter. The problem is that the oxygen sensor being in the cat, where it's holding exhaust and altering it, that's what a cat does, compared to the upstream, as in pre-cat position that the car's computer is expecting, makes my car run a little off. So we're gonna fix that today. I'm gonna show you how. And I'm gonna put something in to help me monitor my air-fuel ratio, and it's gonna be very important for a bigger project down the road. I won't tell you what that is now, but hint, hint. It can be something useful for you guys should you ever want to do the same thing. Let's get on into this, huh? Alright, so I had to take the exhaust off. That's a pain. Look at that, you can see right on down the motor. Oh, that's space. How many other cars can you take the entire exhaust out through the engine compartment? There we go, one exhaust. Alright, so this is the fun part. I couldn't get this apart. It's just so seized. So, for right now, it's gonna have to stay, and I'll just have to get creative later on down the road when I replace all this. But doesn't matter. Got the oxygen sensor out. There's a hole right there. That will get plugged. Now, I just have to drill a hole. So what I have here are these. This is an oxygen sensor plug to go and place it where the oxygen sensor was, and an oxygen sensor bung, or Bosch, whatever you want to call it. So I will have to drill a hole and then weld this, which is great. You can just weld it right into the exhaust and give it a new location. It's great if you want to move your oxygen sensor to a better place. Maybe you got an exhaust system like mine, it's a little piecemeal, got to make it work. or you're trying to add another oxygen sensor, or maybe add an oxygen sensor period if you're trying to go to like a standalone ECU. But so what I gotta do now, should be real simple, should be straightforward. Just drill a hole, put the oxygen sensor bung in, weld it in, and oxygen sensor will go right in. And I'll have a link down in the description to this if you want to get a set yourself. Alright, while it was off, I figured I'd give it a fresh coat of paint, keep it from rusting. Here's the oxygen sensor bung, welded in. It's not the best weld in the world, I never said I was the best welder. Right now I just got the old oxygen sensor in to plug it up. And this being in, now I just got to put the plug in. Because I don't plan on this coming out, I'm going to put some red thread locker on here. Whoops, that was a bit more than I needed. Now that's all plugged up and that's installed, which means this is ready to go back in the car. Alright, wow, I'm a mess, aren't I? Well, this is what you get for crawling around on the ground. So the next part of the project that I mentioned was something to monitor the air to fuel ratio. Now, I have a gauge in my car right now, but it's kind of busted. The wire harness is shot. So we're going to replace that. And what I'm going to replace it with is basically the same thing I have. But I'm going to show you guys how to hook it up, because I don't think mine's hooked up correctly anyway. I have a Sun Pro air fuel ratio gauge that is a, narrow band LED indicated thing. Now this is not for doing exact, tight, perfect tuning, but this is to give me a good idea as to what the car is doing. Now, I will admit, Sun Pro is an old one. So Sun Pro got bought by Bosch, so you can no longer get these. I happened to get one a while ago and it's been sitting in my shed for a while. So I'm still using the Sun Pro, plus it matches my other ones. Well, except for the one Bosch. I'll have a link down in the description to the Bosch equivalent of this. So, normally the gauge is right here. I already took the bezel off. But, like I said, this one, it's busted up. I mean, I don't even think it's got a negative on it anymore. Nope. Things are screwy. I'm gonna get rid of this, install the right one, and everything will be good. So for ease and clarity, I took the old harness out entirely. So starting from scratch, obviously I got my dash, or my gauge cluster, whatever you want to call it, out. So I can access the wires, the all the wires, the lights all out, so everything is clear and easy to get to. In this box is obviously the gauge cluster itself, the gauge pod itself, this guy, and a big wiring harness, and some of these annoying crimpers, which I can't stand. I hate them so much. I never use them. The wiring harness, which is important because it has the proper connector to go in the back, and then it's got like 1.5 miles of wire for each of these guys. Very useful, very important. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hook up the red to a power source like your fuse box, something that is only on when the car is on, because you don't want it on all the time. The white goes to your lights. My car has a dimmer switch, I know most cars do, so I have it hooked up to that. So as I dim my dash lights, this gauge will also dim. Same with my other ones too. A ground, make sure you ground it in the engine compartment, not under the dash. That ground can be a little funky. And the green wire is the signal wire. This one actually gets hooked up to your oxygen sensor. I've got this right here, which is actually already hooked up to my lights. These are the other wires for the other things. I've got this one wire right here that's actually from the old one, and I got this bad connector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this apart, and I'm actually going to just solder it together. One wire done. So I hooked up the power to a fuse that is only hot when the car is running. So this gauge will not be on unless the car is running. Next step is to run the ground and the signal wire. Now, they give you a little grommet in here. If I can get to the side grommet. They give you a grommet if you want to drill a hole in your firewall and run it out. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Alright, that drilled, the wire's through. Now all I gotta do is actually connect it. This black wire is supposed to go to a ground on the engine. Well, I'm gonna connect it to the main ground on the firewall because the block is grounded to that. Why not? Now the green wire is supposed to go between the computer and the connector to the oxygen sensor. Yes, I know I'm a mess. Sorry. I tried that ages ago and I got nowhere with it. So I actually have a little trick for that, which I'll show you. Try it the proper way first before you try it my way. All right. So I'm gonna hook these up and then we should have a working gauge. hooked up now. So I turn it on the car, turn on the lights. I got lights. And when I go to start it up, saw it come on. Right now we're running really lean because we just started up the car. So after that warms up, we should get a little more voltage. And I got a connector I gotta fix on that real fast. So I'll go ahead and get that taken care of and get cleaned up a little bit, and we'll take it for a test drive. Alrighty, so got everything back together. I think something's wrong with the tuning of my car right now, because it is running really lean. Like normally, this would be on. I'll show you this, ready? I'll shut her off. You can see it flashing. It normally does that when it starts up. Then when the car comes up to temperature, then it starts reading. However, this one hasn't been. But I took the voltage meter to the oxygen sensor itself, and it's reading 0.02 volts. Normally it runs on a voltage between 1.0 and 0. So something's a little goofy. I'm gonna have to look into that a little more. But big, significant difference now with the oxygen sensor in the proper position and being a new oxygen sensor. So we're gonna take it for a little test drive real fast. Now I'm not pushing the car super hard right now because I don't want to push too hard. It's definitely running a lot smoother, and with a nicer power band, power is coming on quicker. Doesn't feel so muddy. Now, I'm not going to say that my car wasn't smooth before, but now it's even smoother and with a much better noticeable power band. I'm going to have to retune the car a little bit because I had tuned it for bad oxygen sensor essentially. And now, with a good oxygen sensor, everything's going to be a little bit different. Which is a good thing, believe me, it's a very good thing because I want the proper power. And of course, the important thing is there are no exhaust leaks. That was one of the first things I checked when I put the exhaust back together, was check for leaks. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have found it to be helpful. If so, please remember to hit the like button, leave a comment if you have any comments or questions. And as always, if you're not already subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when I upload another video. Because we're going to be getting to some more projects with this car. So I'm gearing up for a bigger project, but I got some other stuff I got to take care of first. So more videos featuring my 1987 Volvo 245 coming your way very soon. Remember, if you like what you see, if you want to support the channel a little bit, I may not have a Patreon, but you can always buy me a coffee at the link above my head, and it'll be down in the description as well, along with a link to the playlist of all the Volvo videos I've done. That's going to do it for me, guys. Until next time, y'all keep rocking and rolling. I'm going to keep taking care of business. I'll see you in the next one.